Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. Good morning to Prof. Azila and my fellow classmates. So we are from Group 19, Black Meadows, and today we are going to present about SDG 8, which is decent work and economic growth. However, our group will only focus on the subtopic, which is economic growth. So, this is our team members. Firstly, we have Miss Putri Syazwani. Secondly, Miss Awatif, which is me, myself. And the third, we have Miss Nabila Naim. And the last one, we have Miss Sabrina Jamal. Are you guys ready to learn about how Mexico uses its economic growth to maximize its positive tourism impacts and minimize its negative tourism impacts? Before that, let's take a look at our presentation outline. This is our presentation outline, so as you can see, it is divided into 4 parts, which is the first part contain definition of SDG 8, targets of SDG 8, and the relationship between economic growth and tourism industry will be presented by me, Miss Awatif. The second part, which is brief introduction to Mexico, the important roles of tourism in Mexico, famous attractions in Mexico, will be presented by Miss Putri Syazwani. Next is the third part, which is Mexico positive tourism impacts, ways Mexico utilize its economic growth to maximize its positive tourism impacts, will be presented by Miss Nabila Naim. And the last one is Mexico negative tourism impacts, ways Mexico utilize its economic growth to minimize its negative tourism impacts. And then will be presented by Miss Sabrina Jamal. And lastly, it will be concluded by me again, Miss Awatif. Hi everyone, my name is Awatif, metric number 272436. So, as for the definitions of SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. Decent work and economic growth is to promote sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. Do you know, tourism is one of the driving forces of global economic growth and currently provides for 1 in 11 jobs worldwide. Interesting, right? By giving access to decent work opportunities in the tourism sector, the society, particularly youth and women, can benefit from increased skills and professional development. The tourism sector contribution to job creation is also recognized in Target 8.9, which states by 2030, devise and implement policies to promote sustainable tourism that creates jobs and promotes local culture and products. Moving on to the targets of SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. 8.1, sustainable economic growth. Sustain per capita economic growth in accordance with national circumstances and in particular at least 7% gross domestic product growth per annum in the least developed countries. I'm sure you're wondering what is GDP, gross domestic product, and what are the least developed countries? Let me explain. So, gross domestic product (GDP) is the total monetary or market value of all the finished goods and services produced within a country's borders in a specific time period. As a broad measure of overall domestic productions, it functions as a comprehensive scorecard of a given country's economic health. Meanwhile, least developed countries or low-income countries that are struggling with severe challenges to sustainable development. Examples are Afghanistan, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Nepal, and many others. 8.2. Diversify, innovate, and upgrade for economic productivity. Achieve higher levels and economic productivity through diversifications, technological upgrading, and innovations, including through a focus on high value-added and labor-intensive sectors. Next, 8.3, promote policies to support job creations and growing enterprises. Promote development-oriented policies that support productive activities, decent job creation, entrepreneurship, creativity and innovations, and encourage the formalizations and growth of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, including through access to financial services. 8.4. Improve resource efficiency in consumption and production. Improve progressively through 2030 global resource efficiency in consumptions and productions, and aim to separate economic growth from environmental pollutions in accordance with the 10-year framework of programs on sustainable consumptions and productions, with developed countries taking the lead. 8.5. Full employment and decent work and equal pay. By 2030, achieve full and productive employment and decent work for all women and men, including for young people and persons with disabilities, and equal pay for work of equal value. 8.6. Promote youth employment, education and training. By 2020, substantially reduce the proportion of youth not in employment, education or training. We are already halfway off the target, so please bear with me just a little more. 8.7. End modern slavery, trafficking and child labor. Take immediate and effective measures to eliminate forced labor, end modern slavery and human trafficking, and secure the prohibitions and eliminations of the worst forms of child labor, including recruitment and use of child soldiers, and by 2025, end child labor in all its forms. Next, 8.8. Protect labor rights and promote safe working environments. Protect labor rights and promote safe and secure working environments for all workers, including migrant workers, in particularly women migrants and those in insecure employment. 8.9. Promote beneficial and sustainable tourism. By 2030, devise and implement policies to promote sustainable tourism that creates jobs and promotes local culture and products. 8.8. Universal access to banking, insurance and financial services. Strengthen the capacity of domestic financial institutions to encourage and expand access to banking, insurance and financial services for all. 8.b. Increase aid for trade support. Increase aid for trade support for developing countries, in particular least developed countries, including through the enhanced integrated framework for trade-related technical assistance to least developed countries. Lastly, 8.c. Develop a global youth employment strategy. By 2020, develop and operationalize a global strategy for youth employment and implement the Global Jobs Pact of the International Labour Organization. So that is all of the targets. Now, let's take a look at the relationship between tourism and economic growth. I'm pretty sure all of you are wondering what is the relationship between economic growth and the tourism industry. Let me explain. Tourism and economic development are linked by the various ways in which tourism can contribute to the economic development of a tourist destinations. For instance, tourism provides more jobs for local citizens and helps local citizens to start businesses that cater to tourists. For example, opening a souvenir shop, as can be seen in the first picture. In addition, this will lead to the generations of revenue from tourist spending and helps in the development of infrastructure. For instance, the second picture shows the Talpan-Tulbul Skyway Bridge that gives a boost to Mexico tourism sector as it spans Tampa Bay at the entrance and to the Gulf of Mexico, facilitating the movement of tourists from US to Mexico. One of the links between tourism and economic development is the fact that a famous tourist region provides employment for the citizens of that area. Tourism needs a lot of services to sustain the industry. For example, the hospitality industry creates jobs for people in businesses such as hotels and restaurants. Did you know employment is a macroeconomic factor that contributes to the growth of the economy by providing workers with disposable income and consequently leading to an increase in the GDP or gross domestic product of the region? For example, as can be seen in the picture, one of the famous resorts in Mexico, Moon Palace Golf and Spa Resort, situated in Cancun, this all-inclusive hotel in Mexico provides many job opportunities to its local, as this hotel has more than 100,000 square feet of meeting and event space, as well as 14 restaurants, 17 bars, and a floor-rider double-way simulator, and the Moon Palace Arena, which hosts live shows. So, can you imagine the amount of job opportunities this Seoul resort provides for its local citizens? So, these are some of the attractions available at the hotel, which are the spa, floor-rider double-way simulator, and also Moon Palace Arena, which hosts live shows. Interesting, right? Let's pray that we can visit this hotel one fine day. Another way in which tourism and economic development are linked is through the provision of small or micro enterprises for citizens. The citizens that might benefit from small businesses linked to tourists include individual or sole entrepreneurs with limited funds and other types of collaborations that do not require a lot of finance. For example, locals can open a store that mainly caters to the needs of tourists. They could collaborate with local artisans and craftsmen to supply them with handcrafted objects, which then they would sell to the tourists as souvenirs. Before I end my part, let's take a look at the short video of El Bazar Sabado, one of the famous handicraft markets among tourists situated in the historic San Angel neighborhood in Mexico. Enjoy!
Place to experience a slice of real life in the city. I should have known from our time here so far that Mexico City doesn't do things halfway. But wow, this place is completely incredible. Every style and variety of artwork I could ever imagine, from pottery to statues to leather to metal and fabric work. And I think these beauties might even be made of nutshells.
Thank you, Awatif. My name is Putri Nur Syazwani binti Yahya with the matrix number 272420, and now I will continue to present about the country that we already chose, which is Mexico. Mexico is a country in southern North America and the third largest in Latin America. Mexico society is defined by the extremes of wealth and poverty, with a small middle class situated between an elite cadre of landowners and investors on the other hand, and vast swaths of rural and urban poor on the other. Despite its challenges in a developing country, Mexico is a major economic and also political force in Latin America. It boasts a thriving industrial base, massive natural resources, and a diverse service sector, and the world's largest Spanish-speaking population. The capital, Mexico City, is one of the world's most populous cities and metropolitan area. Mexico's economy is one of the most powerful in Latin America too, and it has risen quickly since the 1970s. However, the country's gross domestic products, which is GDP per capita, remains significantly lower than that of the United States, and the Mexican economy is heavily reliant on services, which account for almost 2/3 of GDP in terms of trade, transportation, finance, and government. Mexico's economy was dominated by state-owned and mixed capital businesses, as well as a highly regulated private sector. Foreign investment and also imports were rigorously controlled by the government, and also private companies were forbidden from participating in several industries such as mining, foresting, insurance, and also power generation. And how significant is tourism industry in Mexico? Okay, same goes to other countries. Tourism also is an important sector in Mexico, and the country plays a prominent role in tourism globally. And for information, the tourism sector directly accounts for 8.5% of Mexico's GDP, 5.8% of full-time paid employment in the formal sector, and 77.2% of service exports. Well, the economy greatly benefits from the tourism industry. Mexico has a tremendous pull on United States visitors, tourists, who make up the bulk of visitors to the nation due to its diverse culture, tropical settings, affordable costs, and also accessibilities. And with its foreign currency income, the tourism industry in Mexico creates employment opportunities and other connected service and activities. Tourism activities are also seen as the vital factor in local, regional, national, and also international economic growth for Mexico. And we can see here from a study by Claudia Susan Gomez Lopez and Carlos Susana Baron Ariola, titled Impacts of Tourism and the Generation of Employment in Mexico. It shows that Mexico tourism industry is an economic variable which is important to its citizens as it generates direct employment and also nets. According to World Tourism Organization data, Mexico will remain as one of the most visited countries in the world. This is proven by its 7th ranking as the world's most visited country on 2022. Although the country was hit hard during the pandemic, its open border policy gave it a head start and a faster recovery than the other nations. And this measure ultimately placed Mexico among the top tourist destinations in 2021. In addition, the Federal Ministry of Tourism of Mexico has indicated that from January to May 2022, about 40,629,000 foreign tourists entered the country, of which 8.6 million arrived by the air, which is the latter number is 98.9% more compared to the same period in 2021. Well, are you excited? Now, let's watch a snippet video of top 5 famous tourist attractions in Mexico.
Beba y agua para la seca, todo el mundo en patilla en la discoteca. Beba y agua para la seca, todo el mundo en patilla en la discoteca.
The first one is Cancun. Cancun is one of the Mexico's most well-known and often visited locations. Cancun is a convenient long weekend escape with direct flights with many US locations and also a trip that can be tailored to different demographics. Cancun's combination of lovely beaches, a clear blue sea, pleasant weather, and possible most uniquely impressive air and ground connection is what makes it so well liked among the tourists. The location also attracts people with a range of interests, including those who enjoy shopping, eating, spa and luxury, history and culture, and also outdoor adventure. For the beach lovers, a jet skiing, parasailing, and a variety of water sports, you name it, SUP, kayaking, snorkeling are available up and down the Cancun expansion coastline. In Cancun, we also have Cancun Underwater Museum, or known as MUSA, which is a bucket list site attracting divers all around the world. It's one of the most successful conservation initiatives in the world, which it have around 500 sculptures in the underwater museum, and the intention was to build an artificial reef and aid in the recovery of the local marine life in the Cancun and also Isla Mujeres region. The next one is Chichen Itza. It is believed that Itza stands for water magician. Actually, this is a Mayan city that was living and thriving in the 9th and 10th centuries CE. Its center is adorned by the La Pyramid. Mayans' deep admiration and knowledge of astronomy influenced the construction plans, from building a round-shaped observatory to making 365 steps on the main pyramid. This pyramid also is called Kukulkan Pyramid, contains 2 smaller ones inside, which technically make it the biggest Russian doll ever built. The third one goes to Dos Ojos Cenote. Dos Ojos Cenote is one of the largest underwater cave system, which is situated in Yucatan Peninsula. Cenotes are naturally formed sinkholes that exposes huge water pits underground, perfect for swimming and deep-water exploration. And for information, the cenotes got the name due to its look as its great and eye-looking shape with the neighboring cave system. And throughout the year, the water in this cave maintains its temperature, which is 72 Fahrenheit or 26 Celsius, and it has 2 main caves for the divers to enter, which is the Bat Cave line and also the Barbie Cave line. Interesting, isn't it? Let's move along to Xcaret Park. A theme park like no other, Xcaret Park managed to pack as many essential Mexican experiences as possible. Privately owned, this eco-archaeological park stretches over 200 acres and it takes a whole World Cup to tour, and is located in the Riviera Mara and has a nice of Caribbean coastline to itself. And for your information, Escape Park includes nature-based attractions that fill with jaguars, dolphins, sharks, stingrays, butterflies, bird sanctuary, and sea turtle nesting sites. There are also fields for monster truck riding, zip lines that fly over replicas in Mayan villages, amazing isn't it? Shallow and deep pools, natural rivers, whitewater rafting, and the last one, speedboating. I would like to go there. And as you watch our video just now, the last famous top attraction in Mexico goes to Barranca del Cobre. Okay, this is the Copper Canyon of North America, which is huge, that covers 37,000 miles of space in Sierra Occidental Mountains, attracting hikers and nature lovers to its sun-kissed boulders. And what makes this canyon so spectacular is the variety of ecosystem scattered all over due to its vertigo-inducing height and depth. And there is suspension bridges, rock climbing terrain, apps, and also abseiling activities. And at the upward there will be a thick forest of oak, palm, and elder trees. And this attraction also has a breathtaking scenery from its 4-hour train ride. I hope you enjoyed the 5 famous top attractions in Mexico, and now I will pass to my team members Nur Nabila Naim to continue this presentation.
Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. My name is Nabila Naim binti Soeharto Sharil and my metric number is 272452. And today I will present about positive tourism impact in Mexico and how Mexico is using SDG 8 to maximize their positive tourism impact. There are 3 positive tourism impact. So let's start with the first one, which is generate income for a variety of business. Tourism has generated income for a variety of businesses and create a wide range of employment opportunities. At the global scale, tourism is seen as one of the world's largest and fastest growing industry. Tourism activity variation has a strong and significant positive effect on local economic activity when compared to less touristic regions. After doing some research, Mexico is closed 2021 with 31 million tourists, which brought 18.5 billion US dollar in revenue. Even though Mexican tourism sector is recovering, the average annual hotel occupancy expectation for 2021 was 45.9%, a 19.9 point growth from 2022. The tourism sector represents 7.1% Mexico's GDP for 2021 and 8.3% for 2022. These are the tourism direct GDP as a proportion of total GDP. Mexico has 8.3% total average of tourism direct GDP. While these are the total number of hotel and similar establishment in Mexico, with number of establishment of 25,200 by 2021. Since tourism has generated a variety of business, these include the tourism establishment. One of them is the hotel. From the graph, we can see that there are an increasing number of hotel and similar establishment in Mexico. This proves the point where tourism generates an income from a variety of business and create employment opportunity. Because when there are establishment, more job opportunity being offered. Next is increasing job opportunity and the employment rate. In Mexico, productivity and access to financial service have increased and the unemployment rate has remained low. Despite this progress, Mexico faces many major challenges to ensuring full productive and decent employment for all. The National Institute of Statistics and Geography released the February 2022 National Employment and Employment Survey, which revealed the economically active population (EAP) was 48.2 million people, which implied a participant rate of 48.7% and means that this population number is 3 million higher than February 2021. According to Travel Pass, Mexico's tourism sector employed a total of 4.49 million people during the second quarter of 2022 and now exceed the pre-pandemic record of 4.487 million. In April until June 2022, there was a growth of 14.3% in people employed in the tourism goods and service sector compared to the same quarter of the 2021. Moreover, from April until June 2022, tourism employment accounted for 8.8% of national work. This result shows the recovery in tourism employment continue. According to UNWTO, as 2020, total employees in tourism industry are 2,009. Lastly is improvement in infrastructure. As well as generating employment and income, another positive impact of tourism to Mexico is improvement in infrastructure. These include road and rail improvement, airport development, and improvement of utilities, such as water supplies, telecommunication. Through this, local people can benefit from the improved facilities which has been provided for tourists. Not only that, the result from higher tourism attractiveness lead to the improvement in transport infrastructure that could benefit local manufacturing producer regardless of local tourism activity. Okay, this is one of the example improvement in infrastructure. This is Avenida Francisco in Madero, Mexico. As you can see, the road has been closed and used as a pedestrian area. This will reduce the road congestion that we can see in 2008. Next is National Palace that built on the place of the ancient Mexican Tlatoanis. You can see that the road has been paved well and the area has been upgraded to be more beautiful and tourist-friendly. This obvious example of improvement in Mexico, you can see the major difference of Tacuba Street in 1909 and now. Tacuba Street is one of the busiest streets in Mexico. Now let's proceed to the next point, which is how Mexico is using SDG 8 economic growth to maximize its positive tourism impact. The first one is Special Economic Zone, SEZ. SEZ have the goal of closing regional gaps by taking advantage of the natural and logistical of geographic area. SEZ are defined as a specific geographical area in which special custom or tax regime are applicable to attract investment. SEZ have been used in the past by several countries such as Ireland, UAE, and China. The purpose of any government when creating SEZs is to generate incentive for both domestic and international investors to invest in such area with the final goals of creating infrastructure and growth. SEZ are geographical defined area with natural and logistical advantage. This allows them to be turned into highly productive area, offering businesses opportunities to investors drawn to the government tax benefit. This is the tax benefit applicable in the SEZ. SEZ has been designated in 7 areas. Out of these 7 areas, 5 areas categorized as tourism attraction, which is Coatzacoalcos in Veracruz that has many popular attractions, including Museo de Arqueología Olmeca, Zona Arqueológica La Venda. The second one is Salina Cruz in Oaxaca. It's a major seaport on the Pacific coast of the Mexican state, has many popular attractions including Playa Cangrego, Playa Azul Oaxaca. The third place is Puerto Chiapas in Chiapas, ranked second among the Mexican states in the production of cocoa, and is responsible for 60% of Mexico's total coffee output. Other significant crops are sugarcanes, banana, and other fruits. The fourth place is Progreso in Yucatan, known for having the longest pier in the world at 6.5 km long. The Puerto Progreso, Yucatan is a frequent stop of many major cruise ship routes. And lastly is Paraíso in Tabasco. It's the home for ecotourism industry. It has white sand gulf coastline, mountain village, and unrestrained rainforest. It's home for parrot, monkey, and also Mayan rune. Next is the SDP National Employment Service (SNE). It provides a free assistance for people looking for work through job leads and economics or in-kind support for job training or self-employment, a public institution that provides personalized service to the employer and the unemployed population in Mexico. It is completely free of charge service that provided by government to prevent unemployment in Mexico. The SNE offer information and linking service between employer and people looking for work within the national and international markets, and support requirement through labor mobility strategy. The SNE also provide employment counseling, financial support, and training to businesses and people searching for employment. This is the total number of employees by tourism industry from UNWTO. As we can see, the total number of employees is decreasing in 2022. This is result of the COVID-19 pandemic. While this is the number of employees in the tourism sector in Mexico from first quarter of 2018 to the first quarter of 2022. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many workers in the tourism industry has been laid off, but we can see the number of employees in the tourism sector has slowly increased from first quarter 2021 until first quarter of 2022. Using SNE has produced a steady growth of tourism employees in Mexico. Lastly, National Tourism Strategy ENT 2019 to 2024. The ENT focuses on the 5 pillars, which is the integration and development of the Southeast region with high-impact infrastructure project, the regional and of destination into macro region to encourage wider development, effort to increase tourist spending, the utilization of tourism to generate economic wealth of Mexican in underdevelopment location, the diversification of source market. While this is 5 major projects to help achieve the goal of ENT 2019-2024, the first will be the Maya Train, to which the government has allocated 65 billion Mexico pesos. The second will be the group to reside into 8 regions to encourage those visiting Mexico cities, for instance, to explore other destinations nearby. The third project will target domestic tourists and will seek to reduce seasonality in the segment. To this end, the state is introducing the Disfruta Mexico, which is translate to Enjoy Mexico, marketing strategy that will encourage tour operator and strategic partner to offer low-cost tourist package. While for the fourth, 2 programs were proposed to diversify source market. The first program is Operación Toca Puertas, which is Operation Open Doors. Will focus on attracting tourists for countries with high purchasing power, such as those from US, UK, Europe, UAE, India, China, South Korea, Japan, and Russia. The second program are the Reencanto con mis raíces, Reunion with My Roots strategy will target Mexican and American. And lastly, the fifth project will be the implementation of multi-sector endeavor to ensure the area around tourist location meet basic infrastructure needs such as housing, drinking, water, drainage, and electricity. So that's all for me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Nur Sabrina binti Jamal. My metric number is 272532. I will continue another important topic, which is the negative impacts towards the growth development in Mexico. There are 3 important main points that I would like to highlight. The first one is about the violence and crimes. Next is about the high infrastructure costs, and last but not least about the environmental risk. Violence and crimes. Mexico's tourism industry is booming. Mexico received 7.8% more international tourists in June 2022 than in the same month of 2021, accompanied by an increase of more than 20% in foreign exchange income, as confirmed by the National Institute of Statistics and Geography. According to the agency report, Mexico received 3.36 million foreign tourists in the first 6 months of 2022, compared to 3.12 million in the same period last year. However, the tourism industry isn't fully insulated from the general problems of violence and crimes that hinder Mexico's economy. For example, in Cancun has been hurt by a troubling increase in violent crime. This photo you see here was happened in March 2018. The criminals planted a bomb on a ferry in Cancun, injuring at least 25 people. However, the bomb had a very limited capacity and was not intended to do a major damage. But still, the injury of 25 people on the boat is still matter. Another example is in 2017, where 3 tourists were killed while visiting a beach in Baja California, served by the gunmen with automatic weapons. Perhaps no city has been hit harder by violence than Acapulco. Bloodshed on the beach, terrifying moment gunmen used machine guns to kill 3 men in the middle of a Mexican beach popular with the breed families. Well, what happened in Acapulco? In January 2018, a Chilean tourist was killed in a shootout in the beach sidebar. In March 2018, another 8 tourists was killed in a shooting at a public event near the Caleta beach in Acapulco. On several occasions in 2018, gunmen have targeted tourists arriving in Acapulco via bus and car. So here is some news regarding the incidents. Mexico's tourism industry still presents a strong upside, but it's also being affected by serious security problems. It's a dynamic that is affecting small local companies and resorts, and also major publicly listed companies such as Starwood Hotels and Marriott. Mexico tourism industry has a lot of potential to keep growing, but investors doing due diligence need to understand how different regions of the country are exposed to different levels of security problems and political risks. Recent violence has been affecting the country, with highly populated tourist destinations such as Baja California Sur seeing a spike in violent crime. There have also been over 120 murders in 2018 to date targeting political candidates and politicians. Despite the insecurity that is prevalent in Mexico, the levels of tourism have not been majorly affected. The long-term issue of security will also depend heavily on the Mexican government to cooperate with the U.S. in combating crime and drug trafficking. According to the National Institute of Statistics and Geography, Mexico received 3.36 million foreign tourists in the first 6 months of 2022, compared to 3.12 million in the same period last year. In order to help encourage the growth of this sector, the government has committed public spending to upgrade infrastructure, and it is also making efforts to welcome foreign investment in a variety of areas linked to the tourism sector. Mexico's public and private sector will invest at least 768 billion pesos or 38.6 billion US dollars in a road and rail infrastructure in 2022, according to Infrastructure, Communication and Transport Ministry. Infrastructure Under Secretary George Nuno Lara said that the money will be used to build and modernize railways, highways and bridges, as well as to improve the road safety measures. The cost to build the train that specifically for tourists could reach $20 billion. These projects are already under construction, including the Maya train, the suburban train expansion to connect the Philippine Angeles International Airport, and the rehabilitation of the Media Aguasa Salina Cruz freight rail line on the Tehatutepec Isthmus Transoceanic Corridor, among others. The most popular investment destinations in Mexico include Mexico City, Riviera Maya, Los Cabos, Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, and Riviera Nayarit. In these areas, visitors mostly come from the US, Colombia, United Kingdom, Spain, and France. With such a solid growth in tourism in this location, it is not a surprise that we see an increase in an investment. Another example of tourism infrastructure construction that required huge expenditure is the Terminal 4 Cancun International Airport. The construction on the Terminal 4 at Cancun International Airport began in January 2016, covering 64,000 meters per square. The new terminal consists of 10 buildings with two-level double-height spaces and a mezzanine level. The building cost of 177 million US dollars. The terminal has made Cancun International Airport the country's second busiest airport after Mexico City International Airport. Next is about the environmental risk. The environmental risk or the environmental pollution is the contamination of the physical and biological components of the Earth system. Environmental pollution in the tourism industry happens due to the poor waste management, where the waste transport, waste treatment, and disposal and several pollutants are released into the environment, which cause serious threats to human health over time. Do you still remember about the train project? Even though the train infrastructure can give a good impact to tourism industry, however, it gives a negative impact towards the environmental. The most common environmental complaints about the railways are the noise, the vibrations, and the amount of carbon emissions they produce, which pollute the air, soil, water, and cause damage to living organisms. The environmental problems of Cancun started in the late 1960s when the resort town was created. The tourism industry in Cancun relies heavily on natural environments and resources, but the current mass tourism behavior has put a great pressure on Cancun coastal environment, such as the destruction of mangroves, seawater pollution, and solid waste disposal. Cancun, like most coastal cities, has high levels of environmental vulnerability but limited capacity to deal with the pollution and waste. Due to rapid population growth of Cancun, it has not been able to manage the amount of waste produced by its residents and tourists. This has led to sewage tanks leaking into the oceanic waters, polluting them and damaging the ecosystems. In addition, this water has contaminated underground waterbeds that are used for drinking. Moreover, uncontrolled garbage has ended up on the streets and in oceans where the facilities do not have the capacity to process it. After all the negative impact that we just explored just now, do you know how to deal with the negative impacts? Here is 3 ways to reduce the issue happen in Mexico. First is to increase the employment rate to reduce the violence and crimes. Next, increase the tourism revenues to mitigate with the high infrastructure costs, and last but not least, to promote ecotourism to reduce the environmental risk. According to the economic theory, crime should decrease as economic growth and opportunity improve. That is because the incentive to engage in illegal activity decrease as the legal avenues of earning income become more fruitful. Improvement in economic conditions such as lower employment and higher wages play an important role in reducing crime. 2 different potential explanations for why crime rates will decrease. First, as their economic prospects improve, residents may become more engaged with legal activities rather than illegal activities. Second, an improved economic outlook may reduce the desire to engage in illegal activities as the cost or apprehension increase compared to legal activity. What causes apprehension? Possible causes include environmental stressors such as difficulties at work. Infrastructure spending occurs when a local, state, or federal government spends money to build or repair the physical structures and facilities needed for commerce and society as a whole to thrive. Additionally, Infrastructure spending creates jobs as workers must be hired to complete the green light projects. It is also capable of spawning new economic growth. For example, the construction of the fourth terminal in Cancun International Airport. The opening of the Terminal 4 of Cancun International Airport increases its operating capacity by 9 million passengers, making it the second most important in the country as it able to handle 31 million passengers a year. Thus, this infrastructure has improved the economy of Mexico as they receive more passengers and allow tourist destinations to have a greater influx of domestic and foreign tourists. This means that a higher tourism revenue will be generated. In addition, the construction of Terminal 4 of Cancun International Airport has created 1,400 jobs and thousands more jobs that will be generated with the economic benefits this airport will bring to the state. This example greatly shows how economic growth can counterback the high infrastructure costs incurred for the tourism infrastructure construction. According to the International Ecotourism Society, ecotourism can be defined as a responsible travel to natural areas that conserve the environment, sustain the well-being of the local people, and involves interpretation and education. Such traveling can be created when the international network of individuals, institutions, and the tourism industries, where tourists and tourism professionals are educated on ecological issues. With ecological diversity ranked among the broadest of any other country in the world, featuring terrain ranging from dry deserts to dense range forests, Mexico has become one of the most highly sought out ecotourism destinations. Historically, the combination of high amounts of tourism and vast amounts of diverse terrain has promoted the development of a number of alliances and organizations dedicated to supporting conservation efforts and establishing ecotourism opportunities. As you can see in this picture, is at the Santos Caracol, which is the star of the jungle in the Riviera Maya. Mexico has introduced policies and programs such as the Program for Sustainable Regional Tourism Development, Pueblos Mágico, General Tourism Planning of the Territory Program, and Mexico's Special Climate Change Program as their measures to encourage ecotourism in the country. For example, the Pueblos Mágico was a program that created by the Mexico Ministry of Tourism in 2001 to encourage ecotourism. A Pueblo Mágico or the Magic Town is a Mexican town granted Pueblo Mágico status by the Mexican government for its magical qualities. This could be its beauty, historical importance, and its natural wonders. It was reported that in 2019, the funding for Pueblos Mágicos exceeded $15.8 million, which would have been impossible without the economic growth of Mexico. The funds were used to improve buildings and roads, as well as for beautification efforts like street sweeping and painting of the magic towns. As a result, environmental problems in Mexico can be reduced or avoided as the policies and programs of Mexico to encourage ecotourism can bring awareness to people of environmental issues deriving from tourism activities. From this, we can see how Mexico is using its economic growth to solve the environmental problem caused by the tourism industry in the country. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Thank you, Miss Sabrina Jamal, for the lovely and detailed explanations. Hey, it's me again, Awatif. So, to conclude, everything has its pros and cons, and this includes tourism as well. However, Mexico has successfully utilized its economic growth to maximize its positive tourism impacts and minimize its negative tourism impacts. According to figures from the UNWTO, by the end of the first half of 2022, Mexico continues to be one of the most visited countries with a second place in the world ranking. So, this proves how significant the tourism industry is in Mexico. That's all from us. Thank you. Bye.